A lot of fitness here, sounds like.
Talk about the whole. This is the time. This is not the time to give up. This is not the time to pretend away that we haven't made progress. We have. There's still much more to be done. And you know what? We might have to get to a point where we pass the baton to our children and our children's children, but we still have work to do now for that generation.
Von Orgy, you are everything. You are Molly, but you are not Molly. But I love you so much as Molly on HBO's Insecure. You are an amazing podcaster, Jesus and Jola. Shout out to Lovey. And then we also have movies. Like you, the world. You're a model, a cover model. Also, wait, don't let me forget your hugely successful stand-up comedy special on HBO. Girl, I mean, you're doing it all, and I am so grateful. You're truly the dream, not just the American dream. You're the black girl, brown girl, do it all dream, the immigrant dream, everything. You're a beautiful, beautiful soul. I really, really mean that from the bottom of my heart. Yvonne Orgy, ladies and gentlemen, nothing but the best and excellence personified. Thank you so much, my friend.
I love you so much, Mama. Mwah.
Yeah, la la.
So Atlanta has been one of the hotbeds in terms of political unrest and social injustice. We've seen so much happen in that city, and we've also seen so much come from that city, including one of our very own founding fathers of the civil rights movement, and that's Martin Luther King Jr. But right now, we want to welcome in someone who has used his platform to talk about voting, to talk about racial injustice, and how he's trying to help. Atlanta's very own Russ joins us now on We the People. Russ, I'm not going to fan out and tell you what some of my favorite songs were that I wanted to repeat on yours. We're going to get to the topic at hand. So Amazing. We got to talk about recently you did an interview where you shared your outlook on culture and music. And you also were very candid about the fact that you have a privilege and that it's necessary for you to give back. Tell everybody about what that means.
As like, it's very obvious I'm white and I'm in black culture and I'm benefiting financially off of it. So I feel like if you're a white person financially benefiting off of black culture, you have to put finances back into black culture. Just that simple. The screenshots with your feelings, it just comes off like fake empathy because it comes off very dismissive and very oh, that sucks for y'all, but anyway, back to what I was doing.
Have you felt that way always, or is it now because of the time of where we are in this country?
So my video.
A culture that you're financially benefiting from.
Have the because there's a lot of them.
It's interesting that you talk about it in that way. Because some people do believe that silence is the best way to go because it's hard to talk race, especially if you're.
No, it started like 30 minutes ago.
As if they can't talk about it, they feel awkward. They feel as if they don't have the privilege or the voice or the words. How do you find yourself right now in terms of interacting with people when they want to talk to you about social injustice, police brutality, what's going on in this country right now?
Well, first of all, picking and choosing whether you want to be silent or not about race, that's a privilege in and of itself. But no, I mean, I try to just do my best to listen to the black people around me and the educated black people I have in my life. So I do my best to not act like I have all the answers for everything, especially in a culture that I'm not from. But that's why when we decided to raise the money for Black Lives Matter organizations, we when we raised 500,000, we got on the phone with some of the women who started Black Lives Matter. I got on the phone with Tamika Mallory. I was on the phone with Karen Civil and talking with my friends to make sure the money went to
a puppy dog skin.
Places, and people who really need it. It's just about listening. That's all. It's about listening.
I've got
Let's talk about
your dog skin as well. A few dog skins as well.
I think of activism, for me, it looks very differently. It's not necessarily just protesting on the front lines. I think that's great. But what about being an activist in the way in which you have decided to be one? What inspired you? What did it look like? You said you raised money for Black Lives Matter. What did you do? Mm-hmm. Walk us through everything that you did and how you find yourself in this moment right now.
Yeah.
So for me, it was 3 years ago. I had like a string of festivals, and I decided that I was going to wear T-shirts with a message on them because I figured, what better time to use a platform than in front of a bunch of people. So one of the T-shirts I wore was, if you want to change the system, speak up, white silence is pro-racism, the whole thing. And it didn't really it kind of got swept under the rug back then. But when all this stuff started happening again, and it's been happening, the police brutality against innocent black people. I was like, man, I'm not the biggest artist in the world, and I certainly don't have the most
Well,
white fans in the
he
world,
probably
but
don't have it. He
I got a good
hasn't came
amount
out
of
in a
people
while
that I
though.
can definitely mobilize and turn into
And he
some money.
started.
And I know they're down for the cause because it's merch, it's a good thing. And I've always been outspoken anyway, you know. And so, how am I going to be in black culture and not be outspoken about racism?
And then I got to ask you this because you grew up in Atlanta, so that gives you a heads up, depending for so many people, because you're in the crux of that beautiful black city where there are so many wonderful black leaders, home of so much great music and things that speak to our culture right now. And we are really, really getting our word out, especially with this platform today, and saying that we must use our
Don't
voice
join my
to vote.
party then.
Talk to me
Join my
about
party
what
then.
the importance of voting for you in this upcoming election.
Just then. Just.
Yeah, so you know, full transparency, I had never voted before, ever. Um, and because, you know, I was one of those people who was like, my vote doesn't
Why?
matter. And, you know, and I don't know, maybe it's because I was younger, maybe it's because I really thought that, or I don't know, but I just think that it's got to, you know, now
Okay,
this is a
I'm
bit of a,
going. I want to
this
go
is a
in
bit
it
of a
though.
privilege to say it's got to a breaking point for me,
I'm.
because obviously it's been past the
I'm
breaking
going
point for
into
black
game
people.
chat.
I think that as a whole, you know, the young people need to get out and vote because we're the ones that never show up. You know what I mean? We never show up to vote, but you know, we're the future.
Hello.
So it's like, look, we got to go out there and vote, and then whatever happens, happens. But at least we did our part.
What is that noise?
What is that
You gotta do your
noise?
part.
Okay, yeah.
Very candid
It's
and
echoing so
saying
bad.
It's so
I
bad.
think there's a beautiful irony
Okay,
in
so
the fact
no,
that
just go and party shotgun.
fans saying
No,
because
just
of
don't
you are
talk.
voting.
Go, stay in
And there's
here.
something
Don't
beautiful
talk.
about that. But I want to know why
No,
now.
because I'm that
Why
creep
are you
off.
listening
Let's go and
to
party shot.
for you to vote? And what hit your spirit to say, yes, this is the time to do it?
Honestly, because I think that George Floyd really
Yeah.
woke up a lot of
Can we
people,
just not
who,
talk?
including myself, who I was
Because I'm still
vocal
doing.
and outspoken about racism. I put it in my lyrics. I put it
Yeah.
on T-shirts. I would talk
That's where
about
it's
it
at.
in interviews. Like, you know, I was vocal about it. But that video in that moment, I think me along with a lot of other people just kind of was like, all right,
It
like,
is.
words are simply not enough anymore. We gotta do something, whether it's raising money, whether it's voting, or all the above. Like, we got to do something, you know. And I'm ashamed that it took that
Okay.
for me to
Let's
be like,
not
I need to
talk.
raise money and I
Oh.
need to vote. You know, it's a shame, and I don't know. It just, I guess, it snapped a bunch of people out of it. You know, and even if you were vocal and whatnot, it's time to actually put your money where your mouth is. It's time to go vote. You know, it's time to just stop talking about it and be about it. You know, and it's been time for that, but like I said, you know, I'm ashamed that it took me this long to actually really be about it. But
Just press square
I'm
once
here
you're looking
now.
at the
So,
screen.
Russ, we all
Then
know that this is
square,
going to be your
then-
first time voting. Tell
What
me what
time?
that
Yeah.
experience is going to be like for you in terms of what you're excited about.
I think, you know what it's gonna do for me. It's gonna let me know that I'm
Just don't talk.
contributing to something bigger
Does it
than
need to
myself,
watch
and I'm
this?
actually putting my money where my mouth is, and I'm being about it. Because, you know, for so long, and I know I'm not alone with this, but, you know, standing on the outside and just screaming about this and that and this should change, and it's like, all right, but did you vote? You know. And so you know, I know it's gonna feel good to know that I played a small role, you know. And that's the
You
problem. I
can't,
think
because
I
then
think
you
the
ruin it.
mentality of like, my vote doesn't matter needs to be
Press
changed to,
L2, then press
my
square.
vote, albeit small, does matter. It's a role I'm playing, and if I play my part and you play your part and he and she plays their part, then we make a difference.
It's a lot better because
you know,
yeah,
it'll feel.
body's not in the way.
I have a feeling it's gonna it's gonna feel very bigger than me. I mean, I think when you realize that giving actually feels better than receiving, that's when you start wanting to
Yeah.
do your part and contribute. So
Yeah, I was in a
voting
rush because I
an
didn't know
easy
if I
way
was
to
going
give.
or not.
You know.
Yeah. To whom much is given, much is required, and you have been given a huge platform, and we are so grateful for you, Russ. Philanthropist, artist, community activist, first-time voter. We appreciate you.
Yes.
Joining us, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate y'all.
So cities like Atlanta and Chicago have been at the forefront
Oh, I
of
don't like me
discussions,
use this
especially now in this country
line.
when we're talking about COVID-19 and systemic racism as well as police brutality and what we can do in this country. Again, we're continuing our conversation, letting you know that your voice is your vote and your vote is your voice. We can change where we are in this country. Currently, I'd like to welcome in Chicago Cubs right fielder Jason Hayward. I appreciate you.
Oh,
I brought in Atlanta and Chicago because I know
he
you
looks
grew up
like
in the
he's
metropolitan
definitely.
area of Atlanta,
You
more
know what?
specifically McDonough. Let's be technical, and and you have been very vocal throughout
Yeah,
this
because that's the
entire
music when
time
it
in terms of
ends.
what our
Then
country's been experiencing.
it starts
Let's
again.
look at the past month and a half, if you will. What has been the hardest thing for you to deal with?
The hardest thing for me to deal with, Carrie, this last month has just been going from the virus shutting everything down to us being called to action. We've had multiple police brutality situations. We've had people protesting, wanting to get the message out. But I really realized that I need to be a part of the positive message and make sure that
Let's
doesn't
just
get
try to
lost
watch
in all
this.
the chaos going on for people to actually hear from a reasonable, respectable person who cares about everyone involved.
A reasonable, respectable person who cares about everyone involved, which leads us to More Than a Vote. It is a beautiful collective of Black athletes and artists. You are a part of that. Talk to me about why that's important for you right now and let's be a part of that collective.
To me personally, it's important to be a part of that because I've somewhat used baseball and my craft as an excuse to not get more involved in voting. But I can't any longer use
I mean, if you
baseball
try to
and
flip,
voting as an
somebody else has
excuse
got on
not
here
to get
now.
educated and also to show
Jump, please
people like
say jumps.
at any moment in time, any
Jump.
walk of life,
Oh,
we can make a difference.
no!
So tell me in your
How
words,
did you
what does
even?
activism look like for you?
In my words, it looks like LeBron James,
This
the
is not
biggest
fair
athlete
because I
right
can't
now
do it.
on the
Yeah,
planet,
push him off.
speaking up and breaking
That
the
was
ice
ours,
for
but
everyone. And I think for the first time, people see and hear from us. So now we have white
how
teammates and
did we even get
advocates, and we
up
have
there?
other people speaking up and realizing, okay, like this is how we go about doing this. And to me, right now, social media, athletes speaking up, entertainers speaking up, like we're trying to do with More Than a Vote.
You said something I thought was so key because covering sports for so long. I know that it's tough for Black players specifically in Major League Baseball to talk about how they feel. Adam Jones did it in a very eloquent way early on, but there are very few that are vocal. You said you all were afraid. Why use that word and why were you afraid?
We was afraid because in 2019 there was 68 of us total, and there are 38 teams. There's 25-man roster on each team. There's a 40-man roster, which is on each team as well. There aren't many of us, so we're outnumbered in that sense, but not always in a negative way when it comes to our teammates and our clubhouses. But to get to this point, you have to move a certain way. You got to be careful what you say. You can't ruffle feathers. You can't come off in any way. Much like other Black entertainers,
Trying
much
to
like
push him off.
yourself,
Get off.
probably having to live your life every day. But to get to the highest level, you got to button up. You got to be seen and heard. So baseball is, like I said, it was time for us to try and
Which
speak up
other
and make
one?
a difference and show it's okay to do so because we can't be quiet any longer.
Well, I have this all to myself now.
Be quiet, be seen but not heard. That is an expression that a lot of Black folks can relate to in whatever aspect of professionalism that they experience, especially if they don't work for themselves. They just feel that. That is also a socialization that we have as Black folks, especially like you said, if you want to get to the higher level. And for so long, I felt it bubbling right underneath the surface that so many of us who were in whatever positions we were, who had platforms, were tired of pretending and looking the other way and spending so much time making others comfortable while we were uncomfortable. Do you feel that this is the type of movement that is sustainable, or is it just for a time?
What?
No, it takes everyone joining in on the conversation, and right now I feel like more than ever there is
Yep,
little
that's
things
what
that's
I'm gonna
possible
do.
to distract from bigger issues. And we saw on draft day, we saw our president Theo Epstein holding up a sign saying Black Lives Matter and wanting to include the president be in that. But now we're having those conversations as well. So
Now we can go on the rock.
and it's not always just going to be the popular thing to do.
Now we can go on the rock.
Get right because they know we care.
Jason, you said you think it's sustainable, that what you're seeing, especially with your colleagues in baseball, that this can be something
They've
where
done
you're
it though.
feeling more comfortable, feeling more safe to share how you feel about social injustice and police brutality. What are you doing right now in this moment with your platform to help change how we look
Oh
at
yeah.
voting and how to educate the culture and the community about voting?
Well, first, what I'm doing, Carrie, is joining up with More Than a Vote and joining up with other athletes and entertainers to get that message out and use our platform to make sense as a group. And try to create a brand with this to make it something that's not just about the election coming, make sure that it's about people getting educated for years to come and figure out where to vote and how to
How
vote.
long has this
We've
event
got people in
been
different
going
areas
on
that
for?
cover different demographics and influence different areas of people. And as a baseball player, as a black baseball player, I feel like now, like we talked about, is finding the time to show people that you can use your voice in this profession. You don't have to be afraid. And to me, that can help someone, help a kid growing up. He can see me, he can see other guys that were in the video we posted saying, hey, this is what they're standing for. They're speaking up for these things, and it's okay to want to play baseball. It's not lame. It's not something I have to be as afraid of as I was before. So I feel like that's my role in this. I have a younger brother as well. He's 24. He also plays baseball. So I've got to lead by example. I can't just always
He's the
come up with a
biggest
good
skin in
answer
the
that sounds
world.
good on TV. When I get asked a question on, what do we need to do to make changes? So I'm joining up here to make sure that I take action and get educated myself.
I can't see.
One, so
I
many
can't see
people,
where
I
the other
feel
one
like in
is.
Atlanta, they're on the move. Or when you want to try to make a vote and try and cast your vote, you have to do it by mail. You have to sign up for the absentee ballot. Then you have to get another ballot in return. They have to send it back to you. Well, for me personally, they didn't send that back until it was too late. Right? We didn't get it in the mail to the address that's an Atlanta
Oh yeah.
address at my parents' house. We didn't get that in the mail until it was too late. And then from other friends and family that are still in Georgia right now, I just hear
I
about them
can't
being
even see it
held in
though.
lines too long and trying to get off work. And we know how it is for any family, but let alone a black family in the inner city or in the suburbs trying to take care of their family and trying to provide for them. You try to get off work, and then you're like, wait a minute. You start looking at the clock. It's like, oh, this is not gonna happen today, right? And so I saw, Mayor Keisha Bottoms, reach out via social
I
media
know, same I
to people
am.
and say, hey, I'm gonna address these issues right now. I need y'all to stay in line to cast your votes. Keep hanging in there. So to me in Georgia, that's what that looks like.
Well, it's
I don't get
interesting that
this
you even
either.
bring that up because there have been all these images specifically from Georgia
I
because
don't
that's
get
such a
this. I'm just
battleground,
recording a video
where
so
you see
anybody can
people,
see it.
especially when it came to the primaries, doing whatever it takes. And this is real life voter suppression that you're talking about. It's been happening for decades. It's not fake. What you're saying, these examples of sending you your ballot too late after the fact or shutting down the polls at 6 o'clock while people still are in line, that's a real life issue. There needs to be some type of change. And I think that what we're doing right now is fair. But the idea of voter suppression, do you think that that is well known, especially with folks, within the generation, your generation?
I think
Now,
it's
can
known
you not run
in
into
our
me? Because I'm
community,
just leaving my game.
right? I don't think it's spoke on enough. I don't think there's
I'll
been
make
enough
sure
light
nobody's
brought to
around
it.
me.
Bring it to light. Let people hear about it. Let people learn about what that
I'll
looks
just leave
like,
my game running.
and get more people to say, okay, look, like this is
I'm
going to
just go.
happen. We have to
No.
expect this, and we can no longer make the excuse. We can't say they didn't warn us.
Jason, everybody knows, or it feels as if everyone knows that the time is now. America's paying attention to us. We have their eyes, we have their ears. If you look toward the future, what are you most excited about in terms of seeing a change?
I'm excited about how fast the word is traveling. The word is being spread right now. The biggest athletes, the biggest icons, biggest entertainers are doing their part. But I'm also seeing people out there on the streets doing their part. When so many things got lost, could have very easily got in the commotion when it came to protests, and you saw rioting, you saw looting. People still stood their ground. People still went out there and said, "Look, we're doing this for the right reasons. We're going to come
Yeah.
together. We're going to use drones. We're going to use social medias." I feel like this is a new wave of getting things done the right way.
Yeah, I think there's a
You're
live
right about
event
that, and
because
you're
it
right.
did. They
People
didn't.
are spreading
If
the
it's a
word.
live event,
People are
it's probably
energetic. We out here. We
gonna
doubling
do
down.
it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Right.
He's probably not hacking.
Hey everybody, I am so excited to welcome a friend, a brother, family member, if you will, former colleague, NBA great, sports analyst, philanthropist. He does it all. And he's here to give us his time and his platform to talk about something that is so important. That is voting. Everybody, welcome Jalen Groves to We the People. Talk to me about how important it is for the people who
They're actually having a
why
book.
is it so important that you use your platform to talk about voting?
This one.
Initially,
This one.
we have to get
Jump
past
on
the
it.
stigma of the mental
Yes, everybody's jumping
systemic
on it.
racism
Yes.
that comes with
Yes,
the
this one won.
presidential race, governors,
That's
mayors,
all.
senators,
This one really
judges.
stands.
We've been conditioned to believe that our vote does not
No, there's a
matter.
small screen
So
on it.
usually when we looked up at
It's
all of
showing us
those
something really
faces and
stands.
people that were running, not only did they not look like us, we didn't believe they were there to represent our
It's showing us
best
something really
interests.
stands down here.
So therefore, as a collective, we didn't mobilize until Barack Obama. And we felt a sense of hope that finally our country is going to do something that we felt would never happen in our lifetime. And I remember being at the inauguration in 2008. I made sure I was there. And we voted. In 2016, we didn't vote, Kerry. We didn't vote. And so many people try to make this political. This is not political. Me telling somebody to vote is like telling somebody to pay taxes. So that's one, getting over the stigma of nobody is going to represent our best interest. And then number two, the reality is that the person that gets the most votes doesn't necessarily win the presidency. That's uncomfortable right there because that's actually what took place in 2016. The Electoral College chose the president. And
Yeah.
if you put all of their pictures up,
Ah.
I'm pretty sure they look a lot
Now I'm watching it. I'm
more
doing it
like
for my
each other
video.
than they look like you and I. How about that? And then the third thing, especially in urban environments, oh man, they create barriers for us, Carrie. It's like you got to jump over the fence, you got to run past the
Okay.
dog, you got to